and I'd like to tell other people about this as well.
And you presumably find that people like me who haven't been in a home don't understand what it's meant.
They don't understand what it means, and I feel that only children that have been in care do understand what it means.
Well, Frank, you went in, I think, about when you were 5. Do you remember sort of what impact it had on you at that age?
Yes, I do, actually. Quite a good impact. It's affected me in lots of different ways. But mainly, I remember the first day we got there. And it was snowing, it was a winter's day. And the CCO, the childcare officer, dropped us off. And the house father sent us up to the stores to get our clothes and all the rest of it. And then we was doing crochet and just generally talking and mucking about. But I remember seeing the railway and the trains going past the back window, and I used to look at these trains. It's just stand out there days on end looking at these trains, going back towards London, wishing that I was on one of them. Because I didn't particularly like it there at the time.
Did you miss your parents?
I did, actually, yeah. Not that I didn't see much of them, actually, because I was in and out institutions all my life.
But you were taken away from them because they couldn't look after you, and yet you still miss them?
I did spend some time, but the time I spent with them, I remember, was good times. Most of the times in the home were bad for me, because I had freedom in London. And I could do this, I could do that.
Did anyone take any sort of individual notice of you? I mean, you had house parents, did they?
Well, they did, but see, you change so many house parents. I mean, one year you had so-and-so, the next year you had someone else, then you was adopted out, and then you was adopted out to somebody else. And you just chopped and changed. I must have had about 15 adopted parents.
Yvonne, Dilly said you hated it. Was that Dilly being Dilly and a journalist?
No, I didn't like it at all.
Why?
It was just... well, I think it was harder for girls to grow up. You know, I'm good at football, but sewing, housework, dreadful. I'm no good around the house at all. Although I have improved.
Did you find it actively nasty? I mean, hate is a very strong word to use.
Yes, I did. I did. For up until the last 6 months, when I actually swapped houses, then it was another kettle of fish. It was really nice.
Tell me a little bit what it was like, the bad time.
Well, it was mental torture. Nobody physically hurt you, but you were forever grateful for the taxpayer for your dinner. Or you thanked the taxpayer for your holiday. You thanked him for everything, you know. And until I left and got a job myself, I didn't realise who the taxpayer was.
So you were made
soon found out.
You were made to feel a charity case, you're saying?
Well, yes, yes. You know, thank the taxpayer that you've got this sausage. Which wasn't very nice, but then you didn't know who he was.
Sounds horrid, but you liked it, Thomas. I mean,
yeah, very much.
Why did you like it?
Well, it's the only home I ever knew, really. You know, I was there 11 years. I was in the convent before that for 3 years, in another home before that. And, you know, I never lived with my parents. Well, not that I remember of.
And for you, the good things, what sort of thing?
Everything. I loved everything about it. I didn't want to leave.
Do you remember when you left?
Yeah, very much.
What happened?
Well, you meant to be there until you were 18 there. I mean, I stayed there until about just before I was 19 there. And just packed my cases one day there. Just walked out. I had nowhere to go, you know. And
as hard as that?
Oh, yeah, very much.
Actually, it's something you've all said, that it's terribly difficult to leave. I mean, whether you hated it like Yvonne and it was the end of a prison sentence.
That's right, but it can be harder when you leave. Like Tom said, you're just on your own.
It's very much like, if we can put it, that an ordinary home with an ordinary family, children have a choice of whether they can leave or not. When you're in a children's home, you've got no choice. At the age of 18 or thereabouts, you're out. You're out on your own. No discussion of what you're going to do when you get out there. No preparation. It's just, here are your bags, there you go.
In my case, it was 15.
I was 14.
Just turned 15. I was at school and I come home on a Monday and the house father turned around and said to me, Thursday, you'll be leaving. So I said, well, where am I going? He said, well, we don't know, we'll sort something out. So, come Thursday, had my bags packed and everything, drove me to a house in Mosper Park, just the other side of New Malden. And a little old lady answered the door, bed and breakfast sort of place. I paid so much towards the rent, and they paid the rest, because I was an apprentice then, apprentice plumber.
But how did you cope? I mean, just suddenly being put out on your own?
I didn't at first. Well, what happened, I had a few friends that I was still in Beechholme, but I used to go to a place called Malden. And I met a few friends there and I got into drugs, etc. That's one of the reasons why they got me out so quick.
You had problems, even the all-coping Dilly, didn't you?
People look at me and say, you've coped very well, Dilly, but much of it is a false front,
Yes.
because you put a false front on, you don't want people to see that you are failing and screaming and crying inside, so you put this false front on, because you know that there's no way of going back. There's no way of going back to Beechholme or a similar institution and saying, I'm in trouble, I need help. Can you help me? Because you've got your pride, and that, apart from anything else, keeps you going.
How low did you go? I mean, what was the worst for you?
The worst for me was actually stealing a bag of frozen chips outside the Prince of Wales pub on one Sunday afternoon, because I hadn't had anything to eat for the rest of that week, and it was frying up those chips in a saucepan for my meal.
And did that land you up in court? I mean, did
No,
you...
because I didn't get caught.
That was,
Trust you.
that was the both of us.
That was the both of us,
Really?
wasn't it?
We
Really?
was in a bed sitter together after a couple of years of leaving Beechholme. I had nowhere to go, so I went to him and he put me up for a few months. And I remember that, it was just before Christmas. He had somewhere to go Christmas and I never, so I went back out and done the same thing again Christmas Eve.
OK, I want to move us on, because obviously these were problems that you were experiencing at the time. But presumably being in a child's home has affected your adult life. It's had a longer-term effect as well. What do you think the effect of that has been?
It's
Trust as
difficult.
much as anything
It is
else.
trust, and you have to change your attitude, because you've got to mix with grown-ups. Everybody is auntie and uncle, and I couldn't call anybody by their first name for at least 2 years.
Really? Just
I
still
just
being
used to
part
sort-
of the institution?
Yes, you just called them, excuse me, you know, you never actually said, otherwise it would be auntie and uncle coming out, and you didn't want that.
You see, it seemed to me that there would be, after a turbulent childhood and being hurt by perhaps house parents who one had wanted to be close to, being in the rough and tumble of a children's home, it would be very difficult actually to trust people.
Well, you like, as Dilly said, you put up a front. You muddle along, and even if you're hurt inside, you just keep going.
But how difficult was it actually to form close relationships, friendships?
Well, I was lucky. I met some nice people who took me in at 18, and it was great after that. But the first 3 years were hard,
What
because
about
you had
the-
nobody to talk to.
It took me a long time, a long, long time to trust anybody. Anybody that got close to me, I found an excuse to leave. I didn't want them to get inside me, to find out who I was or what I was and what I could become. It was something which I didn't want them to touch, because it was too tender area. That's what I felt. But then once again, I was lucky. I had good friends that stayed with me. But, I mean, Tom, how did you feel
Not when I left.
when you left?
Oh, the whole world collapsed, didn't it? I mean, I'd never,
See-
I'd never done it. I never cooked anything in my life until I was 19 years
I
old.
felt...
Never washed,
Do you,
washed my clothes or anything.
but on this point of getting close to people, I mean, do you find you're still wary of...
All the time, all the time, yeah.
I felt like I had a big chip on my shoulder, that the world was on my back.
That's
You know,
right. It doesn't
I
help
was calling-
relationships.
calling people sir and madam and different,
Still do
you know.
sometimes.
I mean,
And
did
I
you
used to
just feel...
wake up in cold sweat sometimes, thinking of like, oh, I'm going back. I still do now sometimes, thinking, oh, I'm waking up in a dormitory with 18 other kids.
I think we all do.
You know, 6:30, 7 in the morning, windows wide open.
What, nightmares?
Sometimes I do, yeah. But I've grown out of it. I'm
See,
slowly grown
I
out
don't
of
think
it.
I really understand the chip you're talking about. I mean, did you feel just different because you...
I felt cheated in a way. I felt like I didn't have much, well, I didn't have no love at all, really. And I just felt like the whole world was on my back. And I just didn't want to say anything to anybody. I felt just to walk around with my head down. You know.
It must make it doubly bad, actually, having such a warm family as you've obviously got now.
Well, see, I'm so protective now. I love my family and I love kids. But that is the only family I've got and I've ever had. You know, really, to talk about. I mean, my real parents, I didn't have much to do with them. It's just when I was a baby, like.
Do you feel vulnerable with that family, that it's